All right, in this video we're going to talk a little bit about the nervous tissue, what makes it up, what are the functions of the different cells that make up nerve tissue. So we're going to start with the neurons and the neuroglial cells. Those are the two basic kinds of tissue, or I'm sorry, the two basic kinds of cells found in nervous tissue or neural tissues. Neurons are the ones that carry the electrical signals, and the neuroglial cells are the supporting and protecting cells. So neurons all have the same basic structure to them. They all have a cell body, which is where the nucleus and many of the other organelles that we typically associate with cells are located. The dendrites, which are the processes that transmit signals from other cells toward the cell body. And the axon, which are the processes which transmit signals or nerve impulses away from the cell body out to other cells. And then there's some other structure we need to talk about. The connection between the axon and the cell body is called the axonal hillock. Axons oftentimes have a coating or a covering that helps speed up contraction called myelin, which is made by various supporting cells. We'll talk about those later. And then there are gaps in the myelin sheath called the nodes of Ranvier. And finally, you have the axon terminals, which are the ends of the axon where it branches to communicate with other cells. So in the nervous system, especially in the brain and spinal cord, you have what we call white matter and gray matter. Well, white matter is myelinated axons, and gray matter is unmyelinated structures like the cell bodies and the dendrites. So we classify neurons based on their structure and their function. So structurally, there's three types. There's the bipolar, which is the middle diagram. Two processes, one dendrite, one axon, cell body in the middle. These are found primarily in special sense organs like the eyes, the ears, and the nose. Unipolar, you got basically one long axon which passes along the length of the cell, and the cell body's off to the side. And the cell bodies are usually collected together called ganglia. And then you have the multipolar neurons. Many process, multiple dendrites, typically a single axon, and these are found primarily in the central nervous system and in the motor nerves. Functionally, we can classify them based on what kind of information they deal with. Sensory neurons or afferent neurons carry nerve impulses toward the central nervous system. Most of them are unipolar. Some are bipolar, like in the special sense organs. Interneurons or link neurons are in the brain and spinal cord in the central nervous system. They are multipolar, and they interpret information, they process information, they integrate it, they form memories and create responses. And then the motor neurons or efferent neurons take the responses from the central nervous system to the effectors, the muscles or glands. They are multipolar. Here you can see kind of what happens after a nerve or an axon, is injured, and what can happen. Sometimes it can regenerate, but oftentimes it doesn't work very well. So those are the neurons. The neuroglial cells, there are several different types. We're going to talk first about the ones found in the peripheral nervous system. The Schwann cells are the ones that produce the myelin in peripheral nervous systems, which helps speeds up neurotransmission. Satellite cells support clusters of neuron cell bodies located in ganglia. So those would be associated with those unipolar neurons. And then in the central nervous system, we have the microglia or microglial cells, which are for protection. They're phagocytic cells. They engulf things that shouldn't be there. They clean up damaged cells, things like that. The astrocytes are also in the central nervous system. When an injury is formed, they form scar tissue, but they also do a lot of other important functions like absorbing or mopping up excess iron so the nerve can function properly. They can help with synapse formation. They can help connect neurons with their blood supply and so on. And then the oligodendrocytes are the myelinating cells that are in the central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord. And finally, you have the ependymal cells, or ependyma, which line the central canal of the spinal cord and the ventricles of the brain, which are filled with cerebral spinal fluid. The ependyma are ciliated cells, and it creates a current that circulates the cerebral spinal fluid through the spinal cord and through the brain. And here you can see a diagram showing the different types of cells here.